In the VA world, 10 plus 10 equals 19. And understanding how VA math works could be the difference between getting the VA disability rating you deserve and leaving benefits on the table. Today, we're diving deep into the mysterious world of VA combined ratings. And trust me, once you understand how this works, you'll have a new tool that can help you maximize your compensation benefits. For this one, grab your coffee, some paper and a pencil, maybe a calculator, and settle it. Class starts now. Welcome back to Vets with Benefits. I'm your host, Todd Wesche, and today we're tackling one of the most confusing and frankly frustrating aspects of the VA disability system, combined ratings. Now look, I know what you're thinking. Todd, I struggled at math in high school and now I need to understand VA math? Stick with me here because this isn't just about the numbers. This is about understanding why your combined ratings are what they are, why they don't make sense using ordinary math, and more importantly, what you can do about it. Let me start with something I think will make this crystal clear. Imagine on the table in front of you is a 100-ounce glass of water. If someone told you to pour out 50% of that water, how much would you pour out? 50 ounces, of course. And you'd have 50 ounces left over. That's pretty straightforward. Now, what if I told you then to pour out 50% of the remaining water? How much would you pour out? 50 ounces? No, you'd pour out 50% of the remaining 50 ounces, or 25 ounces. You would have poured out 75% or 75 ounces of the original 100 ounces of water, and you'd be left with 25 ounces of water in the glass. Now let's assume that the glass represents you as a person, and the water represents your functional ability. That is, your ability to work and live normally. When you're completely healthy with no disabilities, that glass is full to the brim. 100 ounces of ability, 0 ounces of disability. But when you have a VA disability, some of that water gets poured out. The missing water represents the absence of ability, or more directly, your disability. The remaining water represents your remaining ability. Let's say you have 70% rating for PTSD. That means, using our analogy, that 70% of your ability has been poured out, leaving you with 30% of your ability, or 30 ounces of water remaining. Then let's say you also have 50% rating for a back injury. That 50% doesn't get subtracted from the original 100 ounces. It gets subtracted from the 30 ounces of ability you have left. So, 50% of your remaining 30 ounces of ability is 15 ounces. Your combined rating is 70%, plus 15%, which equals 85%. 85 ounces have been poured out, and 15 ounces, or 15% of the original water, remains. And that gets rounded up to the nearest 10%, giving you a 90% combined rating. Now, this isn't just some arbitrary system the VA made up to confuse us. This is codified at Title 38 of the Code of Federal Regulations at Section 4.25. That regulation goes on to explain that disabilities are combined, not added, because the VA recognizes that multiple disabilities don't simply stack on top of each other. Your body is an integrated system, and the impact of multiple conditions is more complex than simple addition. And quite frankly, no one can be more than 100% or totally disabled, even if you could add up the percentages to exceed 100%. Let me walk you through a real-world example that many vets face. Let's say you have these ratings: PTSD at 70%, a back injury at 50%, and heart disease at 30%. If you just added these up, you'd get 150%. But that's not how the VA does it. We'll start with your highest rating, the 70% for your PTSD. Remove 70% of the original 100% of your ability, and you now have 30% remaining ability. Your 50% back injury takes 50% of the remaining 30% of your ability, which is 15%. And you remove that 15% from your 30% ability, leaving you with a 15% of your ability and 85% disability. Your 30% heart disease takes 30% of the remaining 15% ability, which is about 4.5%, which rounds up to 5%. Remove that 5% from your remaining 15% ability. That leaves you with 10% of your ability remaining and an overall disability rating of 90%. So 3 separate disabilities totaling 150 in individual ratings, if added up using ordinary math, combine using VA math to just be 90%. But that's not the end of the story. There is a key exception to this math, and it makes all the difference. Before we look at the best way to get around the weird VA math, I'd like to thank Vetis Legal for its sponsorship of this podcast. If you or anyone you know needs help with their VA compensation claims, give them a call at 1-508-205-2503 or go to vetislegal.com. That's VETUSLEGAL.com. And let them know you heard about them here on the Vets with Benefits podcast. Here's where things get really frustrating for veterans, especially those of you getting close to that coveted 100% rating. As your combined rating gets higher, each additional disability has less of an effect on your overall rating. We've already seen this in action. 10 plus 10 equals 19%. Even at the low end, VA already diminished the veteran's disability by 1%. But because of rounding, it looks like the veteran got the 20% expected. But the closer the veteran gets to 100%, the harder it is to get there. Each new disability provides diminishing returns because it's calculated against an ever-shrinking amount of remaining ability. And this is why you'll meet veterans who have 15 or 20 different service-connected disabilities and still can't get to 100%. The VA math is working against them. You can see why vets think this is incredibly unfair. But for some vets, the VA system shows some mercy. And this is crucial information for vets. VA recognized that this combined rating math can cause unfair results due to the mathematical quirks of the system. That's where a total disability rating based on individual unemployability, or TDIU, comes into play. TDIU allows veterans who are rated less than 100% but are unemployable due to their service-connected disabilities to be paid at the 100% rate. Generally, TDIU comes into play when veterans are in those higher levels of disability ratings where the diminishing returns have the biggest effects. Under the basic rules, you can qualify for TDIU if you have one disability rated at 60% or higher, or a combined rating of 70% or higher with at least one additional disability rated at 40% or higher. Now, there are additional requirements, but for our purposes here, TDIU allows veterans with an overall rating as low as 60% to be paid at the 100% rate, providing a path for veterans to avoid some of those harsh effects of the VA math. Look, I know this math seems designed to frustrate veterans, but understanding how combined ratings work is critical for several reasons. First, it helps you set realistic expectations when you're filing claims or appealing ratings. Second, it helps you make strategic decisions about which conditions to focus on in your claims. If you know what the likely rating is that VA would grant for your condition, and if, when you apply the VA math, whether your overall rating would or would not change, you will be better informed whether it's even worth the effort to go through the process. Because this is a complicated area with many exceptions to the rules, and because there are multiple ratings that can be assigned to various conditions, it may be wise to consult with a qualified VA-accredited representative to help you understand your options. And lastly, don't get discouraged by the VA math. I know this math can make your head spin. The goal is to ensure you understand how this all adds up. That's all for today's episode of Vets with Benefits. You're part of the growing Vets with Benefits community, and I'd like to hear from you. Did this episode help clarify how combined ratings work? Did I miss anything? Or is there another topic you'd like for me to discuss? Let me know in the comments. And as always, if you found this episode helpful, like, subscribe, and share this with anyone else you think might find it useful. And thanks for listening. Hey everyone, thanks for listening. As a quick reminder, yes, I am a lawyer, but I am not your lawyer unless we already agreed to work together. While the things we talk about on this podcast may be legal in nature, it is not legal advice. If you need a lawyer, you should reach out to a qualified licensed attorney in your area. This podcast and all of its content are owned by BSCC Media, LLC. Thanks for listening.